All right, welcome to the Whole Life Living TV network, sponsored by Sherry Gideons International, a show that explores simple ways to live life at your highest potential through the latest outstanding topics, advice, and positive news from a healthy, happier, more loving, conscious mindset with internationally known guests and everyday people sharing simple ways to take belief and apply it towards mastering your dreams in life. I'm Sherry Gideons. Thank you for joining us today. We are grateful to have you. If you want to work with me directly, you can visit wholelifeliving.com or my main site, sherrygideons.com. I offer group and individual coaching programs, so please visit wholelifeliving.com also to sign up for my newsletter and updated information on show guests and regular tips on living a whole, perfect, and complete life one moment at a time. Today, my special guest is Marilyn Harper. She's been called the Midwestern spiritual sparkplug and the Bette Midler of the New Age movement. Marilyn is a renowned public speaker, facilitator, spiritual teacher, and channel of Adironnda Company. She is invited back again and again as a featured speaker at conferences, retreats, and workshops for her warm, authentic, and offbeat stories of personal transformation, delivered in a way that's hilarious, heartfelt, and inspiring. Marilyn is an internationally recognized expert on the walk-in phenomenon. She humorously points out that it took 3 car accidents before she awakened to her true calling as a channel and began developing her spiritual gifts. In her work as a speaker, facilitator, and healer, Marilyn's goal is to provide fun experiences and practical methods to help people laugh, love, and live the life they are here to live. Enjoy, peace, love, and laughter. Welcome, Marilyn. I'm so happy to have you.
Hello, Sherry. I am so happy to be here.
Yeah,
Is everything all right? Is the sound okay?
Oh, it sounds great.
Good.
Yeah. No, I was so excited to have you since the last time we were together.
Well, you've come a long way since the last time we were together. I was on your radio show. Now it's a TV show. Sometimes I think I look a lot better on the radio.
No, you know what? It's funny because when I was reading your bio just now, because I know, the fun and the play you exude, I was laughing because I could feel, the God bumps, the energy bumps literally going, filling my whole entire being as I was reading about you, because that's who I know you to be.
Yes. I think that life should be fun. And if you have a little challenge, like sometimes just look for the fun in that challenge, right?
Yeah. And that's what I'm really absolutely excited about talking about today, which is the subject of optimal health. And, you talk about holographic healing and intuitive healing and how you can, you have the ability to look in the physical body and see where blockages might be and to be able to heal those blockages through visualization. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's pretty fascinating. I became attuned to Reiki master in the 90s. And after I became attuned to Reiki at the master level, I was doing a private session with someone, and all of a sudden I realized that I was looking into their bodies. It looked kind of like an X-ray. And I thought that, well, that must come along with Reiki master. But I thought everybody could do that at the time. And what I was looking at on the original one was not something that was physical. In other words, I wasn't looking at her bones and stomach and lungs and her organs, but I was looking at ropes that were inside of her, where her digestive system is, and she had trouble digesting food. And so we untied those ropes etherically, and she was able to digest food after that.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So is this something that you think was as a result of your, near-death experiences, your car accidents, or is just something that after doing, Reiki, you became more aware of?
I think that's a great question. I did have actually a walk-in experience, a soul transformation, a soul exchange. I guess that would be a clearer way to state it. And I believe that at that time, that all of the gifts and talents and skills that I now utilize came in. I just didn't know it for a few years. And I think that when I was attuned to Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, that all opened that up. I took a class in, how to be a certified intuitive consultant. And then it all just kind of flowed through after that. I stopped having the ability to read. So even though I tried to read books on how to, do healing work with people, I was told in my automatic or my inspired writing that I was bringing in a newer technique that was from the star system or whatever that I am from. And I call it now holographic healing. And it started with, in the 90s with being able to see or sense the blockages or see or sense into people's bodies. At first, when it first began, it was like a metaphor, like the ropes with knots in them. But now I have worked and expanded the skill enough to where I can see into the stomach lining. And when I describe it and then speak to a doctor, medical doctor, what we describe is very much as to what it really looks like. So I knew that I was actually seeing interdimensionally at the time.
So, so we can be a little bit more clear for those of us who, don't understand how this is possible for, a lot of us or, the majority of us. What do you mean where you came from? Is this part of your walk-in experience where the walk-in came from? And then all of a sudden you have these healing abilities that you've been able to develop, as you have just shared with us?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I believe that it did come in with the walk-in experience. I believe that it did come in with having the transformative soul exchange. However, I noticed in 2008 that all of my skills became more enhanced in 2008, and I believe the walkout actually came in and joined the walk-in. And the walkout's body, the physical ancestry, they were healers. They lived in the Old West, and people would call my great uncle to stop blood or mend a bone instead of the doctor. And so there's got to be some kind of a cellular recreation there. But it was in 2008 that I really started focusing on the enhancement and working to identify what I was seeing or sensing, because I didn't have any medical training. I worked on identifying when I would do energy work or do channeling work with someone, and I would feel or sense. I don't want to say feel a chest pain or whatever. I would sense it, and I've sort of trained my own guidance system to tap or touch wherever they need the work. And then I go into that interdimensionally. And when I say where I'm from, it's an interesting. I'm from Kansas. I was born in Kansas, but when I walked in, my walk-in came from another galaxy, a Q system, which doesn't even translate into English, and so I think that I utilize some connection from that galaxy and adapt it to life here on this planet. I know that's so weird and so wild, and that's why I don't even hardly um, accommodate much about that anymore. But if you feel like you're not from here, you probably aren't.
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know. And then as I really set about focusing on developing my own skills, and through the channeled work that I do with Adironnda, Adironnda always has said, Adironnda, for those of you that don't know, is the spokesbeing for a council of 12 or more. Adironnda is multidimensional from the 17th dimension. And I didn't even know there were 17 dimensions when I started out with this, but there's actually 144. And science has now proven that there's 11 or 12, and that there's more. So I love it that science is catching up with us.
mhm.
Um, but Adironnda has always said that I, Marilyn, am the healer, the healing practitioner, and they simply magnify that energy to move through interdimensionally when I do remote work or work in that capacity. Um, it, it it's it's pretty interesting. Last year, we did a 21-day meditation program called Optimal Health, and we went in, people came on the 21 days. I don't know how many there were, 70, 80, 100 people, something like that, from all over the planet. And they listed what they wanted to work on, and then guided meditations going into the organs of their body, going into that particular space, and started visualizing what a healthy organ would look like, and what their organ looked like, and making that transference. And it was amazing, Sherry. I had people that well, I started it just because I wanted to drop a few pounds, and and I worked with my own cellular programming, my own digestive system, as to why I hang on to pounds and all of that, and that then went farther into people that had been diagnosed with diabetes, people that had been diagnosed with degenerative disc disease, people that had been diagnosed with lung ailment. And so it was fascinating during that 121-day meditation program how we went into the different organs. And from that program, I have developed what I call holographic healing. And it's a much more intense energy of really bringing the body back into its own alignment.
I love the description that you've given really about this approach to whole health, because I myself was able to follow the same type of steps when I healed my congestive heart failure after the birth of my twins in 2004, and very much meditated on a daily basis. Went in and visualized my heart pumping perfectly and saw every artery flowing with blood perfectly. I'd watch it, and I'd actually watch the cells rebuilding, and I mean, it was really, really amazing. And then bring it into the now, and as well as I do that I am a practitioner myself and follow all of these daily steps to meditation, what I call my non-negotiables, daily non-negotiables. But I would really like to talk about some of the things I've been dealing with and use those as examples, because in the last 8 months, I woke up one morning and had severe lower back pain. And initially, I thought that I had slept wrong and that it was just going to go away. And each day, it got harder and harder for me to sleep at night. When I would get into the car and I would drive, I'd get out of the car and literally I had the most incredible hip pain. And remember, I am a retired pro fitness bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So, spent many years dealing with, optimal health and all of that. And so anyway, to make a long story short, I thought that I could heal this, and I truly believed I could heal this, but at the same time, I was dealing with treating for it, what we call in religious science, treating, that I was already whole, perfect, and complete, and then meditating. But finally, 6 months into the deal, I went to the doctor and they did an x-ray because I couldn't tolerate the pain anymore, and discovered that I had degenerated, what they at the time thought was degenerated discs in L4 and L5. And he says, okay, I said, well, what do you mean degenerated discs? And he said, well, what I see right now before doing an MRI is that basically you no longer have L4 and L5. And I said, well, how is that possible? And he said that, somewhere they degenerated and basically they turned into powder and were eliminated out my waist. And so I'm like, obviously, understanding something completely different. And then they did an MRI and basically came back and said two things. One, you have severe bursitis on both sides of your hips, and you do no longer have L4 and L5. And so right now, as we speak, I have opted to have back surgery at the end of this month. And so I'm really wanting to talk about this with you today.
Well, it's fascinating that you mentioned that. Am I getting an echo? Is this okay? Does this sound okay?
I don't hear echoing on my side. I don't know if anybody else in the forum is experiencing it in the chat room. If you are, let us know, and I'll let her know.
Okay. I'm actually working with someone right now with who has been diagnosed with degenerative disc. She has been diagnosed with it in her neck, in mid-back, and lower back as well. So, 3 different sets of 2 each in the thoracic, the cervical, and the lumbar. And so
they're saying that, yes, you are echoing and it's hard to follow you.
Okay.
Just turn your volume down just a little bit and see if maybe that helps.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
I don't hear any echoing on my side at all, but it looks like Diane's experiencing echo. Okay, she says, go ahead and talk for a second.
Okay, I'll talk for a second.
No, you don't have any problem with that, huh?
No, but I'm working with her on the diagnosis of degenerative disc, and she's gone from, do I still have the echo?
Still there, she says, yes.
Let me unplug. Are you on a headset?
I'm on a headset, so go ahead and try to do it without your headset.
Is there no echo now?
I don't hear any echo at all on my side.
Well, I'll try it without a headset, and we'll see if that goes any better.
She says, oh, much better.
Okay.
Yay.
We don't need to use the headset for this program. We're not. So thank you, Diane. Thank you for being our tech crew there.
Yeah, she's great.
And we've been working with her diagnosis of degenerative disc, and she has gone from every single day a level of pain of 12 to she hasn't had a pain over 3 or 4 in several weeks. So I would be more than happy to work with you on it. The thing that I've noticed with the holographic healing is it takes several sessions in succession. It works, and several private sessions. Someone with dry macular degeneration, and when we first started working, they couldn't see. They couldn't see the television. They couldn't see shapes. They couldn't see forms. They couldn't see the computer. They couldn't see their cell phone, and now they're driving.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and we worked about every other day for a month, and then we worked a couple of times a week for a month, and then once a week, and now we've had one session in 2 or 3 months, and it's still holding. That's the thing that people get very impatient about in their healing practices. You can do a healing session with someone and their body goes into alignment for that time, and it stays in alignment for, you know, a few hours or a few days, and then they think, well, that didn't work. Well, usually the body has been out of alignment for quite a while. So it takes longer, multiple sessions for them to get, for the body to, the muscles to kind of retrain themselves to figure out what it's like to be in alignment instead of out of alignment. And that's what we've done with the person that was diagnosed with degenerative disc. And it was actually quite severe. And so far, knock on wood, she went on a vacation and I haven't heard from her for 2 weeks. So hopefully it all held.
Let me ask you this about the people that you're working with. Do you find that initially when they start with you, they're seeking you, but at the same time, they're struggling with the belief system around the idea that it's possible for this to completely be healed in this particular method?
You know, that's a great question. Yes to both. They struggle with the possibility that, and I always tell them to continue with their Western doctor, continue with medical practice. Excuse me. I also, you know, sometimes I will see like acupuncture needles on their specific points or something. And so I always talk about that as well. But the thing that I don't think they have to believe it is possible for it to work. And that's unusual. I think that they have to, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a medical intuitive. So I put a safety guard on the energy. If they can't visualize what I'm doing, then I'm not able to work with them. If they can visualize it, even if they can't, you know, we go inside their bodies and we see those places that are out of alignment, or sense those places that are out of alignment. If they have a difficult time visualizing what I'm talking about, it is much more challenging. I'm actually working with someone that has a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. And it is, I mean, she's had the diagnosis since she was a baby, and it's much more intense, the work, because the cerebral palsy is set up in the brain. And so, you know, you want to be a little careful moving stuff around in your brain, but we've seen progress. And so that's a really good thing. I think that in that capacity, belief is very important. I believe that if you believe that you can only be cured by a Western doctor, you're pushing against the grain to have an energy healer come in. However, I've seen animals that do not have any concept of what's going on be healed of something with the energy. So in that capacity, you wouldn't have to have the belief that it's possible. You know, so, and like my mother, she's 94 years old. She's had 2 knee replacement surgeries, and I did energy work on her during the second knee replacement surgery. During the first one, I did a little bit, but it wasn't consistent. She didn't understand it. She didn't completely get what I was doing. So there was not a belief there, but she could tell when I worked on her. She could feel it. And so, and she's the one that told me that my after that fact, she said, well, what are you doing when you're doing your work on me? And so I told her that it was energy work, energy healing. And she said that my great uncle had a similar gift. So it worked on her. It was effective. She walked out of the hospital without the use of a walker. 2 weeks after her surgery, and she was 88 at that time. So she didn't have any belief that it would work or that it wouldn't work, but because she wasn't aware of everything that I was doing, but it certainly made a difference. And then sometimes, like, I worked on somebody with pretty deep osteoarthritis, and nothing. I mean, no relief whatsoever. Didn't change anything. And so then I started thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? Right. But I think I started asking the question, well, what do you get out of your osteoarthritis? Oh, well, I get to sit down wherever I go, and I get a little more attention, and I got, my husband waits on me, and, so there was a lot of benefits that they were receiving because they didn't walk very well. So, there's a lot of variables that go through the energy, and the emotional body comes into play with that as well. It's a fascinating process when you start moving into people's bodies.
Those were some of the things that I was really thinking about as you were describing what you do, because I know that, in my particular process, I try to connect with the feeling that, I want to feel out of wholeness. What does wholeness feel like? What does, being fully supported feel like? I do know too that when I go into different areas of trying to understand the why is this happening? Why am I going through, back struggle in the back? And you go to like Louise Hay, and, she says that bursitis is internal resentment, and the lower back is anger and financial issues, and so then at the same time, a lot of it I realize is subjective, and there's subjective stuff I'm holding on to. And so, to be honest with you, what has really happened with me in the last 10 months, I have really surrendered to the moment. That has been one of the greatest gifts that I can share with you around just opening up to who I am, being more open to, healers showing up in my life in reference to what I'm seeking, and then just plain being open, because I know that the more I love myself, the more people show up that are seeking to love themselves. And I'm more of a reflection of that. So, I mean, when you have people showing up, is there a certain way that you talk to them and you kind of share more information about what you're doing so that they're more open to allow that truth to be demonstrated in them, within them, through them?
Yes, absolutely. I worked with someone that, channeling was against his religious beliefs. He didn't get it. He didn't understand it. He didn't, and he was completely foreign to my world now. And so I had to go in and explain to him how the body is an electrical system, and that he understood. And I had to show him in pictures, this is what a spine with your diagnosis, it would look like. And this is what a healthy spine would look like. And, it's a scientific fact that when you have something that's a higher vibration, that whatever is around it will actually entrain to that vibration. If you have a piano and you play an E note on the piano and there's a guitar in the room, the E note on the E string on the guitar is going to vibrate. And he could understand that. He could make that shift. And he said, well, how are you seeing into my body? And I said, I don't know. I couldn't explain to him how. I just was able to describe, without being a medical doctor, where the veins were, what the heart muscle looked like, what the lungs looked like. And I said, Google it. Let me Google it, and you look at what I'm describing, and I'm not Googling it. And he was quite surprised at the accuracy that I was able to come through with. And so he let me work on him, and we worked. His spine was out of place, and that was really all. It was not a degenerative disc or spurs or stenosis or anything else, but his back had been out of place so long that his muscles were actually holding it out of place, because that was their new normal. So
Right.
we would put it back in place and relax those muscles, and then it would go out of place again. And we had 3 or 4 sessions before the spine would actually stay in alignment. And he would watch the spine that's in alignment, the picture on Google. Thank God for Google, right? And so I was able to explain that in a bit of a scientific way, and introducing him to the esoteric energy. I used messages from the water, Dr. Emoto's work. And Dr. Emoto was a scientist, and I showed him pictures of the water before the energy and after the energy. And and he could understand that. So that's a good thing. Thank goodness there's been some studies on that before.
Well, and I love that you're using visual aids. And the reason I say that is because I work with, a lot of people. And as I work with more people who are more open and are seeking, what's coming through me, I'm realizing that if you have visual aids to show people, because they're visual and kinesthetic learners, and I find they're so much more open if they can see a picture, and then you can actually allow the energy to come through you and describe, from what I call their learning style or their vantage point. And then all of a sudden it's like a light bulb goes off.
Yes.
And you actually feel the shift from, what I call the analyzing, scrutinizing, and rationalizing mind. And you feel the shift of them releasing and letting go and being open to what you have to share.
Yes, that's very true. You do feel the shift. They feel the shift, and you feel the shift. That's why, whenever I do remote work, I've done remote work with them not present, and I've done remote work with interaction on Skype or something, especially if it's an international session. And I feel like even though the work is still very good with them not present, I feel like when they're an active participant, and, I say, I'm going to place my hands on your body, and they can feel that getting warm or tingling, or they can feel a presence there, that makes them an active participant in their own healing. And so then when like their back or their spine or something starts to go out of alignment again, they have an awareness of what it feels like. And, so do I, and so it's a fascinating process. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And if you can change the way water, crystallizes in a crystallization form just with an intention of wrapping that water with love. If you can lose a ring and materialize it back somewhere else, why can't you heal the body?
Right.
And it's interesting. I've been having allergies since I left Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, what is this about? What am I getting for allergies? And I went to, last week I was in a conference about our software for our computer programs, which is is way over my comfort level. Way over my comfort level. And I just read, when you reminded me, Louise Hay, allergies, because this morning it cleared up, denying one's own power. So,
wow, I love it.
Yeah, I know. And so it really, the prospects of everything that's available to us now, when we realize that our intention plays a huge role in our physical health. In working with someone, I know you can say my intention is to have a healthy whole back or body or organ or diabetes, pancreas or whatever. But if your brain is saying, I don't believe that, if your brain is saying that's not possible, that's going to override your intention. And so we actually start many times with holographic healing with where those beliefs are held in the brain. And it's absolutely fascinating. We have a 21-day program that the meditations are actually available for sale on our website, Adironnda.com. But when we went into the brain and replaced a chip of cravings and addiction, that is also the same part of the brain that affects depression. And for 24 hours, people felt that physical difference in their brain, and then we smoothed all that over. So they relaxed into it a little bit. But everybody that was on with us, 70 or 80 people, they all had a physical symptom, even though it was just an intentional shift in the brain, So that tells me that major thing. That told me that we could go in and work with the pancreas to heal diabetes, to bring it back into a place of balance. We could go into the digestive system and work on the colon, and so if you can do that, why not?
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, that's the next question. So where does where do people go, for example? Is there a process that they have to go through with you to where it sticks, where they actually do believe it sticks, and then they never have this problem again?
That is a great question. And everybody's different. Some people I work on, I worked on somebody at a conference once, and they had severe back pain for months, years. And I worked on her for 15 minutes and went into her back and asked to have a spur that I saw that was pressing on a nerve, just asked to have it filed off within 24 hours before we left the conference. And she's never had back pain since at all. Then I've worked with other people that, like with the person that was diagnosed with macular degeneration. I worked with her very regularly for 2 months, 2.5 months. And it held. She just had another session last week, only because she started sensing a little cloudiness. And so we went back in and cleared it out. So she's fine again. And I don't know that I know. I don't know that I know that you'll never have to have another session. What I try to do is teach the techniques that I'm using, so eventually you can do them yourself. Because I think that the human mind is such an amazing piece of equipment, and
yep.
You can through a visualized process, through acknowledging the essence of flowing into your body, acknowledge that and shift everything within your physical form. You know, whether it's a belief system, whether it's a physical ailment, whether it's, you know, anything can be shifted. And that's the power of this time right now is, you know, when you think 100 years ago, they didn't have all the drugs and the pharmaceutical companies that we have now. Right. And it's so much easier to just go take a pill to take away the symptoms, but that does not take away the root cause of that illness. And once you get to that root cause, it's so powerful. I worked with someone that actually had stem cell treatments.
Wow.
And we discovered that she was responding emotionally to something that had happened to the stem cell donor.
Interesting.
I know.
Wow.
You know, so now we're going down a little different path and working to clear out the past programs of that donor. Because, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it, Sherry?
Yes. Oh, my gosh. And, I mean, it even just defines that whole belief around we are all one and how we are all connected. Exactly.
You know, my uncle had a kidney transplant. And after he had the kidney transplant, his taste in foods changed. And it only makes sense that cellular memory is in every cell of the body. Why wouldn't it be in every cell of the organ that is experiencing the transplant?
Right.
You know, I mean, movies are made of this stuff.
Yep. Oh gosh, yeah. I love this kind of stuff. To talk about it, to, you know, be a part of it, try it out.
I do too. I'm fascinated by it, and you know, it's much more interesting than the old questions that people would always give to Adironnda. You know, where's my sweetheart? Where's my big sack of cash? What's my purpose?
Right.
You know, it's definitely more interesting on a private session. And
well, I love anything about health, and you know, there's been some interesting things occurring. You know, when I knew that you were going to be on the show, because I think, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I mentioned to you before that I have twins.
Yes.
And one of my twins was born with congenital hemivertebraes. And so she has hemivertebraes in the upper thoracics and hemivertebraes in the lower lumbar. And she's been complaining lately of her back hurting severely. And initially when she was born and they told us, you know, what she was born with, they said eventually 12 years old, she'd probably have to have back surgery. But I never wanted to connect with that. So what I did recently when she started to talk about this was I asked her, I said, is there something emotional that, you know, is bothering you inside? And she started to tell me that she feels that she doesn't have a voice with her where her sister's concerned, her twin, and that she feels like we value Hannah, the other twin's opinion, more than we do hers.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
When you get to that information and how just that information can have that whole emotional programming of not feeling supported, which is part of what your spine is doing, not feeling loved, not feeling heard. That's great. I mean, it may not be great for her, but it's great to acknowledge that and then set about finding the ways to reprogram yourself so you can be heard, or have her reprogram her so she knows how to express herself to be heard.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What could I do with her to, you know, communicate with her in a way that, you know, as a child, obviously, where, you know, I could help her, you know, let go of that.
Well, you know, we talk about going into the Akashic records and the record keepers for everything that's ever happened to you. Those records are all stored in your cells. So in each cell of your body are your whole records. So if I'm sure it was something that happened at birth or shortly thereafter to cause her to have the belief that her voice, that she was not valuable enough to be heard. And so if you go back to see the whole situation now as an adult and sort of pull back and look at the whole situation, you can see where the program went in, and you can see how it was probably not an intentional thing. And then start shifting through visualization, shifting the consciousness of the cells that are attached to the spine, the cells that make up, like I've looked at a cross section of bones to see all of the idiosyncrasies that goes into what a bone looks like. And what I would do is get rid of the emotional impact first, that emotional imprint of not being heard, and then start working on going through vertebrae after vertebrae after vertebrae and aligning those vertebrae and seeing how they can actually be regenerated.
Wow, this is fascinating because, okay, so based on what you're sharing and saying, let me mention one other thing so you have the whole picture. So she was also born without a throat. And so she had, I mean, my God, see, I got to give you the full picture, So she was born without a throat. So she had the opening of her mouth, but it grew to a box, and the rest of her organs grew to her lungs. And so that she had to have her throat reconstruction at 3 days old. So now, based on the back, the hemivertebrae and throat, I'm starting at 12 years old, I'm starting to really listen to what she's trying to share with me.
Yeah. And that will make a huge difference. I mean, obviously there was something karmically that she came into that happened before she was born. So I don't know if she can understand past life, but that theory of something that happened in another lifetime, it continues to repeat every 7 years until you deal with it. So now wow, that's amazing. So now as her cells are learning to communicate, and that you are learning to, and you're a communicator. That's how you make your living, communicating with people, and for you to stop and pay attention and listen and honor her and help her realize that her words do matter. Her words are important, and that she can have a viable place in the world with that energy. I mean, that's very powerful, to think that something so drastic happened to her before she came in that actually caused her to be born without a throat. So you can go back into the Akashic records and see if you need to know what it was that happened that caused that in the first place. But right now, it's really just about clearing out the old programming and aligning it with the strong, healthy, because to have your throat rebuilt, all those meridians, there's meridians in the body. Aside from the acupuncture meridians, there's meridians that are aligned in the body, just like around the globe. When you see a globe of the earth, those lines that go around, they're the same in the body. So anytime you have a surgery or anything, all those meridians are cut.
Right.
So I have a CD that's called Meridian Alignment. So all that energy needs to go right through the alignment reconnect those meridians. So, you know, you might start there with her. And so once you connect those meridians, then the flow of oxygen, the flow of energy, the flow goes through much more easily. So you might start there.
That's a good point, because one thing that I have really been, I mean, I look her straight in the eyes when I talk to her. And, you know, so when she said that to me, I said, you know what, you do matter. And I told her, I said, you are such a gift. You are so special. And I said, and I always want you to feel safe when you talk to me, that it's okay to tell me anything you're feeling, you know, and I said, we can talk about it, because I told her, I said, I love you so much. And I'm so grateful that you chose me as your mother, you know, so that I'm constantly instilling in her the awareness of how much I truly love her from my heart.
Yeah, and that's so important. You know, so much of the time, they're not lucky enough to have you as their mother.
Mm-hmm.
Know that and I don't care what a parent did to their child, and whether that child is 50 years old, they still want their mother or their father's love and approval and support. They still desire that. Even though they can say, oh, I don't care anything about it, somewhere inside they still accommodate that. And so it's so important that you realize this and stop and listen and let her know that she has a place on the planet, that she has a place in the world, and that she will make a difference wherever she goes. That's
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had a question from one of my friends. We were talking about you being on the show. And so, you know, she's very careful not to talk about, you know, what's going on with her illness. But we were talking about her cancer. And she says that, you know, we haven't found a, you know, what do you call it, a healing for cancer yet. And so have you worked with anybody with cancer, or how would you work with somebody who is, you know, struggling with cancer, whether it be breast cancer or, you know, cancer of the body, period?
I have worked with several people with cancer, and I'm happy to say all but one are in remission. You know, it takes some, you know, soul searching. Mm-hmm. And cancer many times is about anger. Mm-hmm. So we go through the anger element. We go through into the cells of their body that were diagnosed with cancer. And we start, I infuse them with angelic chemo treatment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nephew invented a device that goes into the vein that actually delivers chemotherapy directly to the organ. Mm-hmm. And it's the pharmaceutical companies are trying to stop it right now. But that gave me a great visualization to really attack those particular cells. And, you know, I certainly can't guarantee anything, but we've had some really good results with it. And with a combination of Western doctor and Eastern doctor and energy, medical, intuitive, with all of that, it's, you know, all I can do is try, and it depends on what how many changes they're willing to make as well. You know, changes in their language that I'm sure she's very consciously aware of, that you never say that I have cancer, that instead it's I've been diagnosed with this type of cancer. And I always recommend, if you feel guided to use chemotherapy or radiation, don't hesitate to do that. Let's now boost that with other energetic treatments. I actually have seen someone that was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and they had polyps in their stomach. Wow. And going to go in and have surgery, and they got sick. And So they couldn't have the surgery. They got like a cold or flu or something, so they couldn't have the surgery. And so we worked for 6 weeks very, very stringently before they were scheduled to have their next surgery. And by the time they got into their next surgery, the doctor found like 2 polyps instead of the 8 that they saw on the x-rays. So that was pretty significant. So, I can't say that it's a cure to cancer. However, I can say that we've had some really good results with that.
Yeah, because we were talking about, what Louise Hay talks a lot about is that cancer usually means a cell that's lost its way.
Yes.
And if the cell's got to be returned to the basically to the whole.
Yes, and all of that is it's all energy.
Right.
You can redirect that cell to allow that cell to remember what it felt like to be whole again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So we've had a lot of people who have asked to call in. Does anybody want to call in and ask any questions of Marilyn right now? If so, please go ahead and call in. We've got 2 seats open. I know that Miss Danica 99 has asked to call in. Go ahead and call in now if you are still with us. And ask any questions that you have of Marilyn. She had asked while you were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm not sure if she's still with us. Let's see. It doesn't look like she's still up on here with us. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see.
How do you call in?
I have 2 open seats. So I have 4 seats, and you and myself are 2, and then I have 2 other seats that are available. And so people that are listening in and viewing can ask to call into the open seats.
So do they just click the open seat?
Just like you did.
Fascinating.
Isn't that awesome?
This is the first time I've seen this format. It's really, really nice.
Well, the beauty of it is that it live streams worldwide. And so even if people haven't subscribed to view the show today, it's literally wide open worldwide. So it's on a straight panel where if somebody were just to go on to Blab, they would see this show and us talking. And they could just click on it and join in with us live.
Wow, very powerful.
Yeah, so it allows you a much more larger global reach. And it's fun.
So if somebody wants to call in with a specific problem or question, they could do that.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it looks like the person who had asked if they could call in is no longer with us. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Marilyn. And is there anything else you want to share with us that we haven't discussed that you really want our viewers to know about, this holographic healing and how they can get in touch with you and how they can find out more about you and the different areas you're involved in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I actually have a conference every year. Our conference this year is Visionaries in Light in Denver. It's September 16th through the 18th of this year. And it's at you can find that information on our website, Adironnda, ADIRONNDA.com. I would also like to invite anybody that listens to this broadcast to, I'd like to give them a gift of, we have weekly messages that are available, but we've added on to that weekly messages for people that listen to this broadcast, a very powerful meditation called Flow, that it anchors that energy of flowing through the body, flowing through your life, flowing through challenges into your cellular memory. So it makes it much easier to go through anything. And they can get that information at get.adironda.com/weekly-messages.
And I've included it here on the screen as well. So they have the link right here on the screen.
This is so cool. I can't make it out because I don't have my glasses on.
Yeah, you know what? That's why I've been looking down.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to see close either.
That's so great. Thank you. And
yep, I already got it up.
Anybody that listens to this now or in the future, they'll get that special recording of flow. And, you know, if they want to email me, I have a guided meditation that goes through the body, and it goes through a body scan. And if they email me and put in the subject line, your whole life living show, I will email them that recording just free.
Go ahead and give me your email and I'll put it up.
Marilyn, Marilyn at Adironnda.com. That's going to make Joy crazy when she hears that. Marilyn.
Adirronda.
Adironnda. 2 N's, 1 R.
.com. Got it. And you say put in the subject line.
New whole life living show. And then I'll email them a link with this body scan where they can actually go through their own body.
Okay.
That's great. And so this show just stays out there, huh?
Yep, this show just stays out there. Oh, tell me one more time what you're going to send them.
First I'll send them the weekly message. That's the getadironda.com weekly -message. And they're going to get a recording that's called Flow that anchors that element of flow into their cells. And then if they email me at Marilyn@Adironnda.com with whole life living show in the subject line, then I'll email them a meditation that is a body scan. It takes them through their body to see sense where their own imbalances are, and then continues with putting that back into balance. That's new information. I didn't do that ahead of time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but no, I love it because
it's directly related to the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and so this is out there all the time. That's what's so great about this is they get to see you, they get to feel your vibe, they get to really, really be a part of, you know, the playful person you are. Because that's one of the things that I love so much about you is that when I'm with you, I can play full out, I can laugh at the top of my lungs, you know, I can do the little pig snorkel if I want.
Yes, you can.
I love being myself.
And, you know, even when I do private sessions, we laugh a lot, we talk a lot, we play a lot. You know, it's all of that. I also do retreats and seminars and classes. I'm going to be traveling with Cryon, Lee Carroll. Have you had him on your show yet?
I would love to have it. Trust me, I put it out there in the universe to interview Cryon because oh my God, the feeling of energy flows through me as I just said that. Oh my God.
Well, I'll see if I can help that out since I'm traveling with him. Yeah.
Sherry would be so happy. Yes, I've listened to his recording. I've listened to the recordings of them. I've read the books, all of it.
Yeah, he's great. I'm very fortunate to be able to travel with him. We're going to be in Portland, Maine, the 9th and 10th of April, and I'm doing myth busting for the new humans, which breaks through the old belief that of what you do, and brings in I can do anything.
You know, I can honestly say to you that I'm at a place where I've really surrendered and let go of. I mean, I've worked through, like you said, 7 years, how they come up again to be healed. You know, those fragmented parts, and I have. You know, in the last year, well, it's been probably a year and a half, I moved to Arizona and from LA. And that was quite a transition for me because I didn't know anyone here. So, you know, no friends. And so a lot of it was surrendering and healing fragmented parts of myself that, you know, I hadn't dealt with. And that's really where I am right now, is as I've gotten to that place where, you know, even financial fear, where I have completely let go, and it's been demonstrated on numerous occasions where I absolutely had no idea of the how. And really just gotten into this place of feeling abundant with everything around me, whether it be, you know, the birds, the trees, the flowers. I started to really recognize how joyful I was in knowing the truth at that level, that abundance was everywhere. And I have had it demonstrated on so many occasions where I was talking to somebody and they just gave me $100 bill just because I lifted them in conversation.
That is so great. And
You know?
that's exactly how it works. You know, your intention, your energy goes out into the universe, and it all works in that capacity. So congratulations.
Thank you. So it's been really a good year for me to, you know, open up to that place in myself that is worthy and deserving of living this life that is of good and greater good. And I've even gotten to the point where I've been able to train myself to let go of any contrast. And the moment, you know, you talk about, you know, our internal guidance system, the moment that I am aware that there is any contrast in contemplation, I immediately, rather than, you know, attach to it and increase the energy, I immediately connect with what feels good. And really, to be honest with you, what feels good to me all the time is just talking. I am a person who loves communication and loves to talk. And when I speak it, like I'm speaking it to you right now, I'm like in the awe of how much it feels good.
Nice. Yeah, you know, and you're really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that when you have a certain timbre in one's voice that makes it easy to listen to, and all of that energy goes through, and so you're doing a profound work, Sherry. You really are, and adding the technical aspect of the video through it, you know, because we're very visual creatures. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I do with the holographic healing is allow that visual aspect to go through. So that's really powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, well, I've been so grateful to have you, you know, be on my radio show and now on my TV show. And, you know, I really look forward to bringing you back on a regular basis and just sharing, you know, the heart, you know, the heart of healing, and, you know, just the amazing person that you are and what you're allowing to come through you. I mean, I'm just in awe every time you come on, because I feel like I'm being held in, you know, as a baby in the arms of love. And I'm saying that, you know, with authentic sincerity.
Thank you so much. You know, when Adironnda came in 1999, that was their intention, is that they wanted people to feel what it felt like to be held in that lap of unconditional love. So cool, it's working.
Yep, it sure is. It sure is. Well, listen, Marilyn, we better let you go because we're a little bit over time, but, you know, I couldn't help but, you know, just talk with you more on just a personal level and share with our viewers all these amazing areas that you are so gifted and talented in bringing, you know, this gift to all of us. So anyway, thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to having you on very soon.
Me too. Thank you.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.